Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. And so today's video, I'm going to be talking about The Bachelor, and this episode is Matt's fantasy suite dates. And it's only down to the final three, Rachel, Michelle, and Brie. But before we even get to that, I want to talk about the conversation Matt had with his father. And I thought it was very rude and unprofessional that the producers aired a conversation that should have been private on national television. There was a lot of stuff that I'm sure was said, but they edited most of it out. We saw a lot of the tense parts. Matt's dad comes in congratulating his son, and Matt sits him down and says, "Look, I'm not here to embarrass you. I just want to move on." And Matt tells his dad how he's been feeling, how he regrets that his father was never in his life when he needed it the most. And Matt's dad was defensive at first, but eventually he owned up to it. And we find out that the reason why Matt's mom and Matt's dad split is because Matt's dad cheated on Matt's mom. And it sucks that it took this conversation for us to even get an insight into who Matt is, what makes him who he is, why he has trouble opening up in relationships, and just who his family is. We also find out that Matt's dad is African. So he's not just a biracial black man. He's a biracial black man with part of an ethnic group from Africa. And Matt's dad, one of the things he tells him is that he grew up without a father, that his father died when he was young, so he never really knew how to do that. And I'm thinking, like, while that whole conversation is going on, besides the black stereotype about absent black fathers that's being perpetuated on national TV, which Matt said made him uncomfortable because he tweeted about it. He said he wasn't comfortable with that airing on national television, as he should be, and he sent a link about absent black fathers and why that's not good to have that as a stereotype. It made me think of why Matt James was picked as the first black bachelor, because most people feel that because he's Tyler Cameron's best friend, who was on Hannah Brown's season, that's why he was picked, because Matt was never on the Bachelor franchise before. He was cast for Claire Crawley's season, but then he left. So he really was just a newcomer. And most people that were petitioning for the first black bachelor wanted Mike. And Mike was also on Hannah Brown's season. And Mike comes from two black parents. And from Bachelor Nation, from what I saw, they seem to have liked Mike personality-wise and everything. But they chose Matt. And this was during the height of the Black Lives Matter protests last summer. That's when the producers on The Bachelor made that quick decision. So, yeah, like I said, hearing the conversation between Matt and his dad, it really reminded me of Obama. And Obama was our country's first black president, even though Obama is also biracial. Obama's mom is white. Obama's dad is Kenyan. Obama identifies as black. Obama is with Michelle. Obama's married to Michelle Obama. And I was just like, wow, the producers are not slick. And I don't think most people caught on to that. And why would you, when we didn't know anything about Matt's background until that episode where we learn about who his father is. Matt, I'm sure the producers thought, okay, we're going to bring someone who's virtually new. Kind of like how Obama was a junior senator for only 2 years in Illinois, and then he just burst on the scene when he ran for president. I mean, no one really knew who he was, but he took the world by storm. Opposite with Matt James. People knew him, but didn't really know him, and the season has been terrible. It's been focused on drama. It's been focused on spoilers. We don't really know who Matt is. Like, they edited out his personality completely. So they were probably hoping, okay, we'll pick a biracial man. Let's see if it'll bridge the divide between black and white. I'm sure that's what they were going for. The Obama effect. And I find it really funny how Michelle is in his top three. And Michelle, kind of like Michelle Obama, they just make so much sense. Confident, pretty, smart, an athlete, as in Michelle, Matt's Michelle. But he's not going to pick her, unfortunately, because Matt's not mature yet. And I've actually read Michelle Obama's book, and I feel like the personalities are kind of similar. Obama was a free spirit. He was kind of like Matt, a bit immature, came from a broken home. Michelle was the rock, straight and narrow. always knows what her goals was, just like Michelle. Michelle's a teacher, as in Matt's Michelle. But Matt's too immature. Moving on. So I think that was what the producers were going for. They were going for the Obama effect, except it didn't work well in their favor because Matt didn't end up with his Michelle. He ended up with Rachel. So I'm going to move on to Michelle's date. Now, their date was boring. A Pennsylvania Dutch spa, and they were in a milk bath. They were sticking their toes in oatmeal. They both didn't really seem to enjoy it, and I don't blame them because what the heck is going on? But they did their little spa date, and then towards the evening portion of the date, Matt confesses that he spoke to his father, and he was trying to figure out why is it that he's not vulnerable in relationships. And Michelle says, well, thank you for sharing that with me. And I thought that was hilarious because Michelle did a little switch on him. But Michelle says that, well, I grew up in a loving family, but this is what I can show you. With me, this is what we could be. We could have that family that you've always desired. And another thing I thought was very great by Michelle and just shows her maturity is that she said, look, it's not just about falling in love, it's about staying in love. She said her parents have been married for 30 plus years. So she knows what to do. But Matt, he's not mature enough. He's not ready to be vulnerable, like he said. He's probably going to need a couple breakups and therapy to really work out his relationship situation. Another thing Michelle said, she confessed that she loves him. She said, I love you, Matt. And Matt, he picked one of two options. Either say, thank you for sharing that with me, or kiss to shut her up. And what did he choose? He kissed her. And so we see them go to their suite, and then we see the morning after, and Michelle tells him again, I love you. And they seem smitten. I mean, Matt seems like he was really enjoying her company. And then they go. Then Michelle comes back, and we see Rachel complaining. Oh, I can't believe Matt's with another woman. And Rachel, that's the whole point of the show. He's dating multiple women. I felt like Rachel was pulling a Madison, and Rachel was pulling a Sarah. And for those of you who don't know, Madison was on Peter's season, and she was the good Christian girl who was surprised that Peter was messing around with other women in the fantasy suites. And I'm like, girl, that's the whole point of the show. And you also knew the type of person Peter was, so she was pulling that type of card. Then Bree goes on her date with Matt, and Bree's date with Matt was a camping date. It was, again, boring. I felt bad for Bree because she said all our dates have been outdoors, and Bree said she's not an outdoors person. And then Matt also said he's not an outdoors person. And while watching Matt's date with Bree, I felt he was more attracted to Bree than Michelle. Like, his hands were all over her. He seemed excited to speak to Bree. Even Matt said it to him, he was like, I've been wanting to talk to Bree so much. So I don't know what went wrong, because they both bond over their shared trauma of not having their fathers in their life. And so they talked about that and how they're not going to let it define them. And I thought, okay, this is a really sincere conversation. But then Bree tells Matt that she's falling in love with him, but her body language said another thing. She was shaking her head no as she was telling him, I'm falling in love with you. And Matt said, thank you for sharing that with me. Is a go-to line. And so in the evening portion of their date, we see them make out. They have like a nice little cabin. And then we move to the morning after, and they're still all over each other. They even cook breakfast with each other. So I'm leaving thinking, okay, Matt's feeling her. I mean, he's the most attracted to her, so it seems to me. And Bree probably thought everything was peachy too. So Bree comes back. Michelle is there. Rachel, again, is making it her business, asking Michelle and Bree, so how was your dates? What did you guys do? Rachel, it is none of your business. It is none of your business what they did. And I think that shows the insecurity of Rachel with these two girls, with Michelle and Bree. And I don't blame her, because Michelle and Bree are women, okay? Even though Bree is the same age as Rachel, Bree carries herself to a different level. Bree is gorgeous. Bree got an actual job. Bree knows who she is. Rachel, from what we've seen in her edits, she just gives me bland, boring, no personality, speaks with the same monotone voice, but she was the first person to be crying and freaking out that, oh, Matt, he's not with me, crying about Matt being with the other two girls and just making it about her. She tried to shed like one tear and I wasn't buying it. She moped and complained the whole time. Then it was finally her date. Her date was the most normal, and they go on like a pottery, they're making pottery, that was their date. And the whole time, just Rachel didn't seem happy. She was complaining, pulling a Sarah and telling Matt that I'm so insecure and I just want to be reassured. And what does Matt do? He reassures her. He tells her, oh, I thought I lost you when you hit your head during the skydiving day, and I really care about you. And he told her he's falling in love with her. And Rachel, again, is the only person he's told that he's falling in love with. And immediately Rachel's personality changes. Like, oh, thank you. Then we get into the evening portion of their date. And the producers cut out so much of Rachel's date. In fact, in the previews, we saw that Matt and Rachel had a discussion about race. In fact, Rachel said that she does see color and that love is love. So there was some more details about that conversation that we just never saw for some reason. And Rachel got fireworks and a whole house for her date with Matt. So once again, Rachel is being shown as the favorite and the clear front runner and winner. So there's fireworks, and Matt is clearly with Rachel. Like, he really is. He was ready to smash. He was all over her, kissing her, making out with her. It was like Rachel represented what he never got. Represented maybe the type of girls in high school and middle school that never gave him the time of day. But with this show now, he's able to experience that. Even if it's a fantasy to him, he's just glad to have it happen. And it was weird that the producers, they didn't publish her morning after footage the way they published Michelle and Bree's. And I don't know why. And hopefully we'll find an answer to that on the season finale and during the after the final rose, because I find it kind of sketchy that they didn't air that out. So then their date's done. Rachel feels all secured and happy. Then we get to the rose ceremony, and Michelle and Bree, it's like 1 and 2, beauty, boom, boom. Bree steps out in this high neck dress with an open back, with a bun, and she looks amazing. Michelle is giving me Michelle Obama vibes with the off-the-shoulder black dress, side swoop hair. She just looked confident and powerful. And I love seeing the sisterhood moment between Michelle and Bree. Michelle held out her hand and Bree took it, and they just like embraced each other. I was just like, ugh, y'all deserve to be the final two. Then Rachel comes in. She wore this red velvet dress, and Rachel did look good, not gonna lie, but she is nowhere near the level of Bree and Michelle. And you could tell there's a divide in this moment, because when Rachel came in, she didn't go and try to hug Bree and Michelle. Neither did Michelle and Bree try to hug her, because Rachel's been crying and complaining the whole time, and she got the good girl edit, so they're not trying to deal with that. Matt comes in, he gives a little speech. Matt picks Michelle first, and then Matt picks Rachel. Bree is sent home. And Matt, I'm sorry, but come on now. Like, you sent Bree home? Bree, oh my goodness. He sends her home. And he basically does this whole speech while breaking up with Bree and says, well, it's not you, it's me. You're an amazing person, but my heart's pulling me in another direction, which is another line he's used. And Bree goes out like a G. She sheds a little bit of a tear, but she goes out not sobbing or anything. And Bree deserves better. She deserves better in every sense of the way. And I hope she gets her job back or something similar. Whatever she ends up doing, I hope she's flourishing. So that was my recap / reaction of Fantasy Suites. It was relatively lackluster apart from the conversation with Matt's dad and Bree's exit. But I'm excited and relieved for this season to be over. You will catch me recapping and reacting to the 3-hour premiere of the season finale and the after the final rose. I might have to make 2 videos on that, because there's going to be a lot, I'm sure, covered, and apparently there's going to be some type of twist. So if you like this video, be sure to click the like button, and if you would like to subscribe to my channel, click the icon on my video. And if you would like to see more videos like this, and if you have any comments about the Fantasy Suite dates, please let me know in the comments below. So thank you for listening, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.